Hello and welcome back to Coin Lady channel. I want to tell you something that has never been discussed before. And Ripple's chief legal officer, Stuart Alderoty, was the one who posted it. That makes him their top lawyer in-house. I've also seen that Stuart Alderoty has been more vocal in public as of late, and that's great. He has become much more verbally combative in a professional manner, but he is still emphasizing how offensive the SEC is in his messaging. It has come to light, of course, that the SEC has been engaging in a specific type of legal attack that they first attempted all the way back in 1946, and that attack is directed squarely at the Howey test. They already lost with this line of reasoning, but they are using it again. I do want to clarify something before I go any further. I have zero experience in either the law or finance. Nothing I say or write should be taken as recommendations to purchase or sell any particular security. Just a hobbyist here that occasionally posts films to YouTube on various crypto-related topics. This is absolutely not a criticism, and I want to say that up front because it sets the tone. I appreciate Stuart Alderoty for being forthright and honest. And I'm going to share with you something that he said just yesterday, and it stems so the piece here originated from that comment at the beginning of the video here. A general counsel for Ripple has been quoted as saying, SEC chair is now with a people problem in a recent story published by the Crypto Fundamental. As well as tweet Ripple Labs general counsel Stuart Alderoty lashed out at the head of the SEC, Gary Gensler, in a blog post published today. Alderoty claims that Gensler uses the legal system as a tool. The head of the SEC, he noted, considers legislative oversight to be a game of hide and seek. Ripple's general counsel claims that the issue with Gensler is now one of we the people rather than cryptocurrencies. And the full quote from Stuart Alderoty is as follows: when it comes to congressional supervision, this SEC chair views the judicial process as a weapon, and the judicial process itself as a game. This is not a cryptographic issue. We, the people, need to figure this out. Let me be clear, I believe that the SEC has been tainted from the very top down even before Kim Jong Gensler assumed it. It seems like whoever is at the top, from Jay Clayton to Bill Hinman, is doing a terrible job. Obviously, Kim Jong Gensler is now at your disposal. People on the ground level feel the effects of what happens at the top. Of course, there are both good and evil people in such a large company, that much is obvious. However, those on the dark side don't appear to have any issue carrying out the task set for them by these true monsters. Okay then, if you're referring to Jay Clayton's SEC versus Ripple lawsuit. Not to pin the blame on Kim Jong Gensler, but he's keeping up with the initial filings. Therefore, I continue to hold him responsible. Absolutely. But I would like to point out, and Stuart Alderoty did so this afternoon, that the Supreme Court has already decided against one of the arguments that the SEC is currently making in the SEC versus Ripple case. And they argue that it isn't. In 1946, they debated the issue. The Supreme Court was not fond of it. And only recently, they've started arguing about it again. And now, the afternoon's contribution from Stuart Alderoty. The SEC contended in vain in its 1946 Supreme Court Howey brief that a community of interest would suffice in the absence of an investment in a common activity. There has been no change in the SEC's error. Shared passion does not equate to joint effort. In case that doesn't strike a bell, he's referring back to the common enterprise prong of the Howey test. It's common knowledge. However, what about shared values? What if, for instance, you mine gold and hence had an interest in gold? What if you're an electronics producer and you employ gold in your products? A jeweler? What then? What if, instead of mining, you simply sold gold on the open market? Then you can agree on one thing: the existence and value of gold is important to you all. We share that passion. But where is the shared effort? Well, there obviously isn't. Right? What about the SEC's embodiment theory and how it relates to the SEC Ripple case? If you think about it, Ripple will have a hand in every single transaction that has ever occurred or will occur anywhere in the universe in the future. Therefore, it represents everything that Ripple has done, promised, etc. The SEC is making that case, and it's just utterly ridiculous because if you look at other developers building on top of the XRP ledger, certainly, there's a common interest, just as there would be with different people utilizing gold for different purposes, including companies, of course. However, this does not indicate the existence of a unified project or a controlling body behind these events. That's really ridiculous. The SEC has been making the same arguments they're making now since 1946. No, seriously. This is the corresponding section. No, I won't be reading the whole thing. For those of you who wish to copy and paste the complete contents of your screen or read it in one sitting, I'll make it full screen. Not a real circle, of course, but people use the term circular even if it isn't the shape of a circle, so Stuart Alderoty marked it up with this red circle, border, or whatever you want to call it. The relevant section is highlighted above, and it reads as if it were written by the SEC over and again before the 1946 judgment in the Howey case. Look, I've read the Howey decision from the Supreme Court, and I've posted it here on the channel a few times. However, I have not read the original briefs leading up to it, which is why I have never seen this before. So now we're deep in the bush. However, this is something everybody can grasp. And again, I'd never seen anything like it, so I was just sort of like face-palming and giggling to myself because, frankly, I thought, these folks know what they are doing. They are aware this strategy is futile. They are aware that this is a weak line of reasoning. Therefore, the judges and the justices of the Supreme Court rejected it. They hoped that Judge Torres would be too preoccupied with other matters to realize that they're trying to pull a fast one on her. Is that their expectation? That despite the fact that this approach failed in 1946, it will succeed in the upcoming 2023 ruling. This is what the SEC published in 1946. There is no indication in the statutory wording that an investment contract is limited to an investment in a single enterprise. However, some of the cases do emphasize features in the particular instances making the enterprise a common one. I apologize. Units issued must have enough in common with one another to be comparable investments in order to satisfy Section 4.1's criterion for a public offering. There you have it. Therefore, we and granted, like to be fair, the fact that they were arguing this, which was a novel notion obviously at the time, makes it a bit more palatable since it resulted in the Howey test, which clarified what a common enterprise is and that it is a prong of the Howey test. Therefore, this is a necessary condition for each investment contract to fulfill. Since the Howey test had not yet been established at the time the SEC drafted this, they may be granted a little more leeway. However, even back then the Supreme Court had already ruled that it exceeded the bounds of legal precedent. They cited a further case law precedent to emphasize their point. It is disgusting and inexcusable to continue discussing the same exact subject in the year 2023. Again, just take a look at the words they used here. The language of the statutes does not imply that an investment contract may only be used for funding a single business. The Supreme Court eventually ruled unequivocally that there is such precedence, thus the answer is yes. The Supreme Court added further clarification. Therefore, a group of people sharing an interest is not enough to constitute an investment agreement. But look, it's written here, they didn't make any mistakes. The phrase community of interest was used. The SEC staff members are monsters. You're a hellspawn, you little prick asshat. They are horrendous. I think they were created by nature as a happy accident. It was a serious error. Oops, that was a huge blunder. These are exhaustive. Investors are severely harmed by it here, that much is certain. Then how come you have the wherewithal to reflect upon this? In 1946, the SEC contested this, and the result was the Howey test, which clearly established that there was no community of interest or common interest. It's something that most people do. What gives you the idea that you know what goes on there? Sure thing. They are aware of this. And then start arguing about it in 2020. We're going to restart the whole shared interest business? After that, we give people tests. What I'm getting at is this. At least with respect to XRP secondary market, I have high hopes that Judge Torres will make the right decision. In the US, XRP will be protected from extinction. And if justice is done adequately, Ripple will still be able to lawfully employ XRP notwithstanding the penalty or whatever. But my gosh. If it comes to it, if this thing makes it to the Supreme Court, the SEC is going to lose. Unquestionably. God, these people are monsters. No, I don't give out financial advice. Nothing I say or write should influence any transactions you make. Please like and subscribe as always. See you later, bye.